I mentioned in my Ninja Shadow of Darkness video that I love the beat-em-up genre, and I used one particular retro beat-em-up to serve as the intro game for that particular video. Golden Axe. The arcade and console classic released first in 1989 by Sega, and one of my favorite games of all time, to be totally honest with you, dear viewer. And after playing Golden Axe for just that little bit, I knew I wanted to play it again. And doubly so, I wanted to make videos on not just the first Golden Axe, but a video for every game in the series as a whole. I also realized the timing was absolutely perfect to make a new Golden Axe video, since Arcade 1UP recently announced a Golden Axe arcade cabinet, one that includes not only Golden Axe, but the never-before-released outside of arcades Golden Axe, The Revenge of Death Adder, on top of Altered Beast, Shinobi, and Wrestle War, but this is a Golden Axe video, thank you very much. So, welcome viewers to video 1 in my little Golden Axe retrospective reviews. I've been wanting to get to a retrospective on this particular series since I just started planting seeds for the channel, and well, here we are starting. I'm excited, even though I know we don't exactly get to the happiest ending for this franchise, but we can worry about the bad times when we get to them. Let's focus on the good now. The original Golden Axe was helmed by designer-producer Makoto Uchida, who wanted to create, quote, Double Dragon but not Double Dragon, after that particular game took arcades by storm in 1987. Uchida, an admirer of action films like Conan the Barbarian, took to creating a swords and sorcery style world for the game. You can obviously see the influence of Conan on this game, even down to the death noises, which are lifted straight from Conan. And First Blood, too. Uchida also drew inspiration from Street Fighter 1 for the controls, citing the ability to press different combinations to get different moves and individual attacks. After a year of development from 1988 to 1989, Golden Axe was originally going to go by the name Battle Axe, then Broad Axe before the president of Sega USA at the time suggested a name change to Golden Axe after seeing the yellow-colored axe in-game. Though, according to Uchida himself, the Japanese text on the splash screen for Golden Axe still reads Broad Axe. So I guess if you can read Moon Runes, let me know if that's true. Golden Axe was a smash success, launching its own franchise that spanned 4 direct sequels and 3 spin-off titles before petering out in 2008, though Golden Axe characters do make additional appearances in Sega-related comics, crossover titles, and mobile games. If I could be serious for just one moment, Sega, you let .emu make Streets of Rage 4, you should definitely let them do Golden Axe 4 as well. They'd crush it entirely for sure. Returning to the first game from my deepest fantasies though, Golden Axe is a swords and sorcery fantasy game set in the mythical land of Uria. A nefarious entity by the name Death Adder has arisen alongside a dark army that's willing to do his bidding. Death Adder goes on a tear across Uria, conquering the lands and even taking the castle that serves as the ruling king's capital building. Death Adder takes the king and princess hostage and now rules over Uria with impunity. And now, it's up to the 3 brave heroes to bring him down, and this is where the fair tale of Golden Axe begins. Golden Axe gives you 3 valiant heroes to choose from, each of which are balanced in a different way from one another. Barbarian Beefcake Axe Battler charges into the fight wielding a broadsword in spite of his namesake, and explosion magic as well. Battler wants revenge for his mother, who was slain by Death Adder's forces. Axe Battler is your middle-of-the-road character. His melee power is average, his range is average, and his magic is average too. He's the perfect beginner character to play with. Amazonian warrior Tyrus Flare is the second hero, wading into battle alongside Axe Battler. Tyrus lost not only her mother to Death Adder, but her father as well. Tyrus has crappy range due to her short sword as her primary weapon, on top of weaker melee power too, but she makes up for it by having incredibly devastating fire magics. Fire magic, capped off by the ability to summon a whole damn dragon to torch the screen.
It is very hot in here.
The last member of this heroic triumvirate is Dwarf Warrior Gilius Thunderhead, a surly fighter out for revenge due to the loss of his brother by Death Adder. Seems like there's a pattern here, or maybe Death Adder should have just finished everybody off instead of leaving children and siblings alive. Gilius has the longest melee range and the strongest melee attack power out of the playable characters, but obviously this is traded off by his weak magical skill, even though the thunder magic is pretty radical. You and a friend, if you have one, pick your characters and battle across the mystical lands of Uria, fighting Death Adder's minions on your quest to take the big man out. Death Adder boasts a diverse bunch of flunkies and generals, including the stalwart Longmoan with his spike club, and Henninger, who clobbers you with a clump of grass grapes. On top of that, a group of Amazonian sisters who have betrayed Tyrus and her kingdom. The traitor Amazon group is called the Zubaroka and go by the names Storchinaya, Strobaya, Lemonaya, and Gruzia. Lastly, there's Death Adder's most nefarious minions, the Skeleton Warriors. I always hated fighting the skeletons as a kid, since, on the Genesis version at least, they had a nasty habit of catching you in an infinite attack string, killing you at any health level. I couldn't catch it on tape, unfortunately, but if you played the Genesis version, it's most likely happened to you at some point. These minions also ride into battle on monsters called Bizarrians, creatures who have been drawn into the conflict and serve as mounts for Death Adder's armies, and you as well when you kick those dumb bastards off them and take the mounts over. There are 3 Bizarrians in this game. There's the classic Chicken Leg, a very strange looking avian creature whose attacks by sweeping his tail, and, fun fact, actually made its first appearance in Altered Beast. I guess I might have to cover that game for this series too, since it was kind of progenitor to Golden Axe. And of course, the other 2 Bizarrians are dragons, coming in 2 colors, blue and pink. The blue dragon scorches the earth beneath foes, and the pink hawks molten loogies at your targets. Beyond these simple foes, you'll encounter Death Adder's most fierce warriors, the men who serve as generals in his armies, and are typically the final bosses of a given level. Bad Brothers, hammer-wielding giants with great mobility, and Death Adder's personal knights, heavily armored warriors with great attack power and range. You fight these foes in a variety of fantastic locations, starting humbly in a little village, to another village that's on the back of a giant turtle, to the Fiend's Path, to fighting on the back of a giant eagle, who actually flies you right to the castle to engage in the final battle with Death Adder. Seems like Uchida might have read Lord of the Rings and asked, why didn't they just fly the damn thing to Mordor? Throughout the game, and in between levels, you can engage in many a Urian's favorite pastime as well, that pastime being kick the manlet. These little pricks, dubbed as thieves due to the fact they steal your mana pots at night, carry said pots, and food as well. Bully them liberally for free supplies on your journey. You engage with Death Adder's grunts as snakes slither into the background, eventually massing up to form the big man himself. This is honestly one of the most badass ways I've ever seen a final boss form up on me. It's actually pretty sick. You fight Death Adder to the death. If you kill his flunkies here, they get replaced by some smacked up skeletons, but all these baddies are no match for the fierce threesome of heroes. Death Adder's reign is brought to an end by his very own axe. After the tyrant is slain, you rescue the king and princess, a triumphant tune plays, and you're congratulated on winning the game. You're given a fun little outro of the various villains escaping from the arcade cabinet and menacing random civilians as the other heroes chase after them. Sega says, see you in the next game, and it restarts. Now, the arcade version of Golden Axe is pretty damn sick, but I have to be totally honest here, I spent most of my time playing Golden Axe on my Sega Genesis. I rented the crap out of this game as a kid, it being in the form of the Sega Genesis 6-pack, and I can say after all that time playing, on top of playing it in collections that have been released more recently, Genesis port definitely rivals the original arcade version, so let's switch over real quick. Now, I'll say right off the bat, the Genesis version definitely isn't perfect. There's a good amount of stuff that's missing from the arcade version, mainly due to the memory limitations of cartridges. Death Adder's sweet spawn animation is completely gone, alongside his running animation too. The knights don't have their throw attack, which makes them far easier opponents to deal with in the Genesis version. The villagers are also severely reduced in number, on top of the Longmoan's stomping animation being absent as well. Death sounds have also been reduced to just 2, one for women and one for men. General animations for the characters are a bit worse off as well, but it's nothing too bad or noticeable. But in trading off all those things, the Genesis version makes up for it in spades, in my opinion. It still plays just as well as the arcade version, and most importantly, didn't downgrade the graphics like a lot of the other ports that came out for Golden Axe. Also, I gotta say, I think the sound effects and music in the Genesis version are superior to the arcade version. They really made it work with the limitations of the console and cartridge space. Here's some side-by-side differences so you can be the judge. The Genesis version also adds 2 additional modes, the first being Easy Mode, which is a halved version of the arcade mode that ends in a battle with Death Adder Jr., the son of the big bad, obviously, and the Duel Mode, which is a long gauntlet you have to clear with just 1 long life bar. Lastly, and most importantly in my opinion, the Genesis version also adds a whole additional level in the castle interior and a new final boss to battle, Deathbringer, a modeled green version of Death Adder who is even more powerful than Death Adder himself. Bringer has access to the player's most powerful magical spells and fights you alongside 2 near invulnerable skeleton warriors. Even with all these advantages though, Bringer is no match for our beastly group of heroes. You also get a completely different credit sequence, this one listing out the names and stats of your enemies in-game, ending with Gilius and Longmum playing some ball while Tyrus and Axe Battlers sleep in the background. Really, you could play either of these games and have a great time. Can't go wrong playing either for a Golden Axe experience. Ah, Golden Axe. It's a true classic of the beat-em-up genre. With everything covered now, I think I can comfortably end this video. My name, as always, is Hades Manticore. This was just part 1 in the Golden Axe retrospective, and I will see you in part 2. Goodbye.